You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
We are 2 days away from the start of the Stanley Cup Final, and most importantly here in Leafs Nation, 29 days away from July 1st. It's the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill, presented by Bet365. How we doing, Rosie?
We are doing good. It was a good weekend starting the week. It's different in the spring/summer, man. It's so nice this time of year. It's weird not having a hockey game for an extended period of time, though.
Dude, this is bizarro world. I guess the GTA's hosting the PGA Tour this week. It's like 8 degrees in Toronto, man. Like, I don't think anybody could have guessed it would be this cold on June 2nd. It's supposed to warm up this week, but I think it's hilarious. You guys have had scorching temperatures. I've been wearing a jacket here, a spring jacket in Toronto.
That is weird. You guys are usually ahead of us. We've had a bunch of 30. Like, I think on Friday or Thursday it was like 33 or 4 degrees.
Yeah,
It's just
what
out here. But yeah, we're full-fledged, but I'm not going to hold my breath because I'm sure you guys will catch up. It'll start scorching soon, but you guys are definitely behind. It's kind of gross when summer won't come and it's just lagging, and then all of a sudden you're like, it's June already. We only get a couple of months and you haven't even got it yet. Sucks to be you guys, I guess, but it's coming.
You know, fuck all is happening in Leafs Nation. We're starting the podcast off with weather talk.
Weather. How old are we? Oh God.
I know that's
the weather.
Yeah, that's my crutch right now, even on dating apps. How about that weather last week? It's like
a real icebreaker.
Is that a no-no, Rosie? Can I be like, what's up with this weather? The same convo I had with you. Can I have with somebody I'm wooing or no?
I was thinking the other day, I went out to the farm and it's like, I don't know, out here when it's dead calm and the sunset is just massive with, the prairies out to the mountains and it's just this huge orange sky. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like the prettiest thing on the planet. It is so different than the winter time. And I'm looking at my kid, I'm like, how nice out is it? And he's like, I don't know, it's just night. And I'm like, my mom used to say that too. I'm like, God, now I appreciate the weather. So I don't know if the kids you're talking to on the dating apps are into the weather or not, but you probably come off as your age when you lead with that line.
It reminds me, and I'm sure your parents told you the same stories growing up about they walk to school. They never got to drive to school. They backwards in a blizzard. Do you get those conversations ever?
Well, I go visit my grandma. She's 92, and she loves talking about taking her horse to school with her younger sister, and her horse was the big one, and they had to tie him up to the post and give him some hay before school. I'm like, oh, baby, you were kicking it old school, Grandma. It's pretty cool.
For the younger folks in the chat, your day will come. Your day will come where you're like, shit, I'm getting there. Anyways, our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show, hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. I won't lie, man. Like, I was jacked for the Stanley Cup Final, but I just feel like the days off ruined the momentum of what was cooking. Like, I like the fact that the teams get healthier, but let's start this thing already.
I know when you think to Florida, like, how long will they have been off before they start game one? It feels like a week and a half?
I think, when did they finish? Last Tuesday, I want to say.
So
Wednesday?
Change 8 days. Yeah. I was thinking, like, it's always the debate of rest is obviously good. What does rest get you? It gets you healthy. It gets you energized. You fix the little aches and pains, no doubt about it, and you get your energy up and you're not beat to hell. But there's also something to be said for, keeping that juju and keeping your momentum. And some people are like, oh, it doesn't transfer from even game to game or certainly not series to series. But when you have a good hockey team and like you're firing, when you're playing on a good hockey team, it's like everything's working for you, right? You're finding different ways to score. The puck's going in the net. You're getting the bounces in the puck luck. You feel confident in your zone. The D are turning things aside. You're taking care of the tough areas. The forwards are helping out and coming back and chipping in. You just feel like a machine. Then you got your goaltender who, a good goalie can feel like he's unstoppable some games. Other games he makes those just the right one at the right time. Sometimes they'll have, a pretty good game, but they'll make those 4 saves throughout 3 periods that are just like, that was the difference maker. And it's just, you're running on all cylinders. And then, you take that big break and, you kind of like cool off and you start again and you're like, hey, same thing. And the puck drops and it's just not there. Like the things aren't working. All of a sudden, shit, we got to kind of readjust. Why isn't that working? And then there's kind of the coach is like, hey, like, remember this and get on that. And then you get on the video after a game and it's just like, shit, we didn't pick up where we left off. It's weird. It's kind of reminds me of golf, which is the game that can just leave you like no other game in the history of the world. Professionals can have a 10-stroke difference from Friday to Saturday. It's crazy. And it's not totally different for a hockey team. Like you just expect everything to be the same when you show up and it's not. I think that could be an issue for teams, but they're always going to take the time off and the rest, but it's just it's that magic number that nobody knows what it is how much time off is too much. And it seems like this is a pretty good break here. So Wednesday night, we're going to find out who's looking like what. I think it kind of favors the Oil to be, I don't know, they just have more recent vibes of playing hockey. It seems like it's advantageous to them, but when the puck drops, we'll see. And again, they are the Florida Panthers. We'll see. I don't think they're going to have too tough of a time figuring out what they need to do.
The old rust versus rest conversation.
Yeah.
That's Salvatore Yanni writes in the chat. Leafs Nation, it's the Memorial Cup, not the Mem Cup. Show a little respect.
Oh, hey, you guys, you wear the puppy. That's
holy fuck, man. Like,
I don't know. With Junior,
I made it shorter for the title of the show. Like,
oh, did you write Mem Cup on the title?
It's
how dare you?
How dare I?
Especially when you're putting a heading on something in print, Nick. That's when you can write the long form. God, so much time.
That's a King Daddy topper of excuses, or people bitching about something on this podcast who wrote Mem instead of Memorial. We're going to get to the Cowan conversation, but just getting back to I had to bring it up. Getting back to the Cup Final conversation, I think the fascination for me this year and tying it into the Leafs conversation, your big boys need to be the big boys, and I get that. And it's nobody's surprise that McDavid and Draisaitl are 1-2 in scoring here in the postseason. But for me, it's the depth. Did you know that 8 different Oilers have scored at least 5 goals, including 40-year-old Corey Perry is tied with Leon Draisaitl for the most goals for the Oilers with 7. Insanity, dude.
Remember when he was kind of available and we were talking about like a Corey Perry? I should have made more noise about that, but I'm like, how would you not want this guy? Like, he is the playoff, like his experience is beyond anybody's that you could even dream of having at this point in time. He's clutch, he's gritty, he understands what it takes to get there. It's kind of incredible. He would have been such an asset, you know what I mean? What does he make? Do you know offhand?
Perry?
Yeah.
League man.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I think it's like league man deals.
God, that's crazy. But there are some guys available that could be that type of dude, but they're not. I just don't think they're Corey Perry, and everyone just keeps waiting for him to fall off. I mean, 40 is insane. I'm just about 40. I think he's my age. He's an 85. He's the same draft year as me, and God, to still be going at that level. And
1.4.
Like, remember after game 1, he grabbed what's his name? That big 6 foot.
Bischel. Yeah, Leon Bischel, yeah.
And just like ragdolls him in the like, he's a 40-year-old man. He's a $180. I think someone was talking about this on a pod, and he goes down and doesn't just like protect himself and like not interested in being offensive in the skirmish. Goes down like it's a friggin' air raid in school and hides under his desk, goes into the fetal position and covers his head and waits for it to be over. Like, you're 6'6". Like, does someone need to tell him that? It's kind of mind-numbing. That's Corey Perry, a 40-year-old guy, just making a mockery of a monster young guy on another team in the playoffs. I don't know, man. You just can't buy that anymore. And to get someone like him at League Man, what a pickup. That drives me nuts. I want some gamers like that on the Maple Leafs.
Well, that's exactly the word I was thinking about, just gamer, an all-time gamer. Like that. That's how I look back at the legendary Hall of Fame career of Corey Perry. Not to mention, we talked about this last week, just he's played it. He's about to play in his 5th Cup final in the last 6 seasons, man. The Leafs can't even get to the conference final. This guy, if you want to be in the Cup final, you have to bring in Corey Perry. And dude, I guarantee guarantee in the next 3 weeks, we're going to have the Corey Perry to Toronto conversation again.
And then people will be furious about how old he is and stuff. It's the same with like Marchand. I was thinking this morning, like how much talk about the guys you want to add and what they'll do. And I mean, Brad Marchand speaks for himself. You want to talk about a gamer and a guy who's just everywhere. Like every time there was anything, it seems like his name bar just comes across your screen, right? He's just involved in everything. And you get him here and pay him what he probably is worth. And then it would just be so Leafy for him to come here and then he's hurt all the time and he doesn't have that step and he loses it. It's like, oh God. But it just, that's this market though. You get someone and there's going to be a bunch of naysayers. And that's why those guys try to protect themselves from it. Don't listen to it. But gamers are needed. I think that's very obvious. And this time of year, you look around at the last couple teams standing and there's a bunch of them. And on Edmonton, it's, like they built their roster and I didn't think they were deep enough, but when you look at it, they pay their top 2 guys and those top 2 guys are so effective that they're like, no one else has a Draisaitl and a McDavid, but you pay them their money and then there's enough to go around for their bottom 6 or 7 guys. And there's a bunch of $5 million guys that just, like you say, chip away, get the job done. Okay. They're surrounding those 2 big boys so well that they can't quite be the difference makers. Well, guess what? Now, this guy, that guy, and the other guy are free to do their thing. And I mean, it's not Robertson, it's not Holmberg, it's not really our guys. And I think that's the direction this team is headed. And that's probably why Shanahan isn't here. You build a team around 4 guys. There's just not enough to go around,
I think Edmonton's disgustingly deep, man. And I think, again, that's been a big story for that team. I felt that way going into the season. And you're right. Like, they've put it together at the perfect time. They're 12-2 in the last 14 games. And I can never discount, like, vets. Like, Adam Henrique's been a really good pickup. He was good in last year's postseason, had a so-so regular season. But he's a guy who rises up at the most important time. I think Connor Brown's been an addition nobody really talks about. He scored some big goals. Even like Kasperi Kapanen. That roster is littered with former and future Leafs. And it's interesting, man. It's like I think you need guys to pull up and do their thing and support the big boys. And I think that's why we're in this conversation with Edmonton. And I was curious to see that the money start to really come in now. The Oilers considered the slight favorites, and it's almost disrespectful, I think, to the Florida Panthers and what that program has put together 3 straight years. And I was recording my fantasy pod earlier today, and one of my co-hosts, Chris Meany, brought up a good point. It's hard to remember, but this Panthers run started with Alex Lyon as their number 1 goaltender. That guy's not even with the he's with Detroit now. Blobber was cooked, man. Blobber was cooked. He was finished.
It's weird, eh? Just the resurgence. And you find those teams that do well. And all I can think of is identity. Like you talk about, the Hymans and the Kapanens or whoever, and the Connor Browns, like just come up. Like, how do those guys score the goals that they do? And it's just, they have that look on their face. Like, just give me a moment and I'll do my job. And the next guy behind me will do my job. And the guy beside me will do their job. And everyone's just coming in waves, and just inevitably a little opportunity is going to come up. And it doesn't matter who it is. Someone's going to jump on it by following the system, sticking to the process, and just completely committing and buying into what, maybe the coach is selling or what the identity is. And you get that in your blood and then understand what it is. And it feels like it's a part of you, and you just can't be stopped. And every guy on the roster and on the box score is like, holy, like everyone's in on this. They're all in, and it just leads to success. And I think that's where the Leafs are trying to get to. And it's kind of what they're lacking. Like, yes, they've built a really good team that can do the stuff. We've seen the game 1 and 2 and everything, but it's like the games, game 6 obviously was good, but the 5 and 7, it's like they're kind of lost when it's like, shit, it's like, hey, you got to do something special now. Like, impose your identity on this game and just take it over, like just lava just coming over top of everything. And it's just not there. They seem to look around at each other and say, what do we do? What do we do? And those gamers are the ones that are like, I don't have to ask. I know what to do. And it's just that identity piece they're looking for. And they've got a lot of good pieces, and they're well-rounded in certain ways, but I don't know. You wonder, how far away do you think they are from having that identity?
Dude, it starts from the top for me. I can't make a case in recent memory, at least I can't remember the last time I questioned McDavid and Draisaitl in the playoffs. It starts there. It
Yeah.
starts there. Every year, they're all over it. And every year, they're in the conference final. And every year, they're just pushing and pushing and pushing. And yeah, there's been moments where Nylander's had some good games, and Matthews and Marner and Tavares, but consistency has been the big thing for me. Where you look at Edmonton every year, every game, there's McDavid in there, there's Draisaitl in there. That's the biggest difference. But I'm looking forward to this rematch. I thought it was unique the way it unfolded last year with Florida winning the first 3 games. I think the other aspect to look at is the Panthers, how good they are on the road. The Oilers are incredible on home ice, and this time around, the Oilers will have home ice advantage, right?
Yeah, that'll be a difference there. If a game 7 happens, it's always the first 2 games in game 7 to me is
Yep.
kind of what the bookends of a series, which are oftentimes the difference maker. And if you are good on sometimes the teams, like, we're fine on the road, we don't mind. Like, sometimes the Leafs are hot at home, and sometimes it's like, yeah, they don't mind being on the road at all. But the Oilers this year like home, like their barn, like being in Edmonton, and advantage. Maybe that's why the odds have swung their
Mhm.
way. But I haven't put any money on that series. I just can't. And maybe we're closer to it with watching Florida for the past 3 years, and then being in the division that we cover. Maybe there's some bias there, but I just have so much trouble, as awesome as Edmonton is and that they're favored. I can't get away from Florida, man. It's going to be awesome. The only thing I can think, I might have said this the other day, but if Bobber might cool off a bit, or
Yeah.
if they become tired, like you say, Perry, 5 finals, like, you don't understand how much extra hockey that is. And it is the most intense hockey, and it is draining, not just physically, but mentally, like, to get up for that and put that face on and be like, I'm going through a wall tonight. Like, there's times where it's like, even subconsciously, you're like, holy fuck, this is getting to be a lot. And for their third season, sorry, to be in the final, that could catch up to them, I guess. I don't see any sign of it by any stretch, but we're gonna find out. I think that would be their only downfall. Maybe just the grind catching up with them, or else Bobber cooling off. Otherwise, I can't bring myself to bet against that Florida Panthers hockey team.
That's fair. That is totally fair. I mean, we're taught there's a reason why we're using the dynasty word in proximity to the Florida Panthers. They're an elite team, and they're really, really good. At any rate, at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. I don't know about you. I spent the majority of my Sunday night watching junior hockey, and Easton Cowan wins the Memorial Cup for the London Knights, their 3rd Mem Cup in team history. They beat Medicine Hat, and that Gavin McKenna, I don't know if you had a chance to watch him yet. He is filthy. Didn't you go see him earlier this year?
Yeah, we had a tournament in Med Hat, and we went and watched a game. I was like, he's just special, right? The confidence is oozing out of his ears. He's capable of doing stuff that nobody else is. And some of his goals, particularly in the playoffs this year, he did like this move. You've never even seen anything. You see some pretty fancy through the legs and dangle and the toe drags, but he does stuff that's like, I didn't even know, like, no one's ever tried that, but you try it, you pull it off, and bury. It's just gross. It's coming out of his ears. And, there's some Connor Bedard, likeness as far as like the flash in playing in the junior hockey leagues. And some people wonder, like, can that transfer over to the NHL? Like, can you pull that shit off, or are you going to try that all the time and have it going the other way? Absolutely. What is that? Like, I don't even, you could put it on slow-mo for me and be like, okay, and I wouldn't even come up with that in 100 tries. It's unbelievable. But not enough to get her done with that mighty London Knights team. It's great seeing a prospect for the Maple Leafs, Easton Cowan, like, popping off in a serious way. The accolades beside his name in that league are getting, like, monstrous, like, as historic.
They're getting Marner level.
Marner level, and some grit and some grime with him too. Like, I'm always worried about those purely flashy players, purely just oozing skill and offensiveness out your ears, well, okay, but this isn't, again, with these series that you come up against, these teams in the playoffs and what we care about in this market, it's not all about that, right? So I like to see Easton County's got some of that jam to him as well, which I think could serve him well down the road in the Stanley Cup playoffs, in the NHL. I like how he's a little bit well-rounded in that department.
So Cowan wins the Memorial Cup MVP. He had 7 points, 3 goals in 5 games for the London Knights. Of note, too, he was stripped of his captaincy last year after they failed to win the Memorial Cup. Denver Barkey was the captain. But we just talked about the reference to Mitch Marner. Cowan ties Marner for the most Memorial Cup points in franchise history with 15. But I think the fact that he wins the tournament, able to rise up. I thought he was really good last night against a very special Medicine Hat team, and I'm sure they'll be back next year. It's crazy to think and fathom that McKenna's still got a year until he's drafted. And I think to your point about McKenna, there's just select elite players where it feels like they're one step ahead, like their mind. And the way he plays the game, he like slows it down to his level, but he's already thinking 4 steps ahead. It's insanity.
Well, that clip there is like he's toying with the players, like toying with them, like to even be like, watch me pull this egregious move and watch the kid trying to defend me bite on it, and then watch me expose him and then just bury whatever's left. It's just gross. He's so many steps ahead that he's toying with players out there. And when I was watching him in Med Hat, I was watching him in warm up and he's doing all this stuff. And I'm like, God, this kid is just feeling so good right now. And he was a little bit quiet for the first, half a game. And then I'm like, oh, he's got 2 apples already. You didn't really notice. He's kind of like some secondary apples. He was part of it. And then, down the stretch, he was in the corner on an absolutely nothing play. Like they all seem to be in position. And he just does this little cutback and then a backhand just wires it to the back post. And some kids just taps it in. And everyone was just like nobody saw that. I'm sitting right there in the zone. And I'm like, how did he see that at ice level? I can see bird's eye view from a good seat. And I didn't see that as a play. And he just pulls it off. And then by the end of the game, I think he had at least 4 points. And it was like, you're just gross, man. Even when you're not popping off the page, you're just gross. And he's one of those players. So it'd be fun to watch him. It's crazy that he's got another year. Before he's even drafted, it seems like this should be his draft year, but it's not. He's that young. So I don't know. You wonder about those guys being that good if they're just kind of spinning their wheels in that league. Like you said, he's toying with players. He's too good for the league. And if there's some kind of in the middle step that a player like that
there is. That's my mistake. I forgot about this. There's been heavy hints that McKenna's going NCAA.
That's
think
the
to
new
Michigan.
thing, right?
Yeah,
That's
everybody's doing it. I don't know how you feel about that, man, because the CHL is going to be a 16-year-old league soon, I think.
Yeah, with the big boys playing. I mean, it's rare, obviously. It's an anomaly of a player like McKenna's level, and he's a guy who can, needs that secondary step or that middle ground from junior to pro or the NHL. And that NCAA kind of facilitates that. I mean, you're not playing against 18, 19-year-olds. There's 22-year-old. There's guys in that league that are like men. And the kicker is you're not playing as many games, but you're practicing a lot more. It's kind of, you wonder, and it's going to change the NCAA. It's going to change the CHL. It's going to change junior A, right? Yeah. I feel for those kids who, I was one of them who played tier 2 junior A, went NCAA. I didn't do my whole 4 years with them, but I wanted to take the time to develop. And, you're playing in the dub, you're going from Seattle to Brandon to holy Lord, you're covering so much ground. You're sitting on the bus. It's tough. It's a grind, and that's good for preparing you for pro. I remember when I played at UMD and Junior Lassard had just won the Hobie Baker, best player in the nation. He goes and plays in the American League, and his report was just he wasn't prepared for that schedule and for the grind and for playing that many games and that many nights. It's such a consistent schedule in NCAA. You just play on Friday, Saturday, and you get the whole week through. Sunday's kind of your fun day, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday back to work with this schedule. But you play pro, and it's a different beast. But for guys like McKenna, they get the best of both worlds now, and you can do both, which was never an option. So lots of change, lots of interesting things. It'll be fun to see where he goes, why, how he does, how he stacks up. A guy like him is going to dominate wherever he goes, but definitely a big change in the hockey world.
For players like that, I think it's perfect. And I think from the Maple Leafs perspective, it's unfortunate it just started now, because I think Easton Cowan a year ago, we're having this conversation. He's going elsewhere. He's going the college route, because it's guys like that specifically where there's this whole ruling, can't play in the AHL just yet. But I think it's time to take that next step. And I think to your point, to play at the college level for McKenna will be huge. The World Junior aspect too. And it'll be fun to document and monitor. And from the Cowan perspective, what a way to go out in junior hockey. I mean, he tackled everything. That was his final game. And now ultimately the question lays, is it going to be the Leafs next year, or is it going to be the Toronto Marlies for Easton Cowan?
Yeah, and we'll see what Tree Living has in store. Again, we talked about this last year quite a bit with Minton and Cowan, and what do you do? What's best for them, right? Obviously, you want those high-end players to have as much success as possible. And, you put them on that big stage, especially Toronto. Like, it's different if you go to Anaheim and start playing. You can be under the radar. You can have a couple of weeks where you struggle, which players of that age are going to do in the NHL. It's a massive jump. Here, it would be front page news, and they'd have to answer all the questions. And then they realize that people are talking about me, and people are disappointed in me, and people are saying, I told you so, and he's not ready, and he's not seasoned enough. And you got all that. And then that's what makes it That's what makes it difficult to come out of, and to, turn a bad couple of weeks around, where in Anaheim, it's like no one's even talking about it. The kid doesn't even get it in his mind. He's like, oh yeah, that has been a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden you pull out of it, and you find something, and you get some confidence. You get a couple bounces. You make a nice couple of plays. You have a good game. You get promoted to a line, and you get to play with these couple of guys, and you get a sniff on the power play, and it just goes. Where with Cowan, it would be like, and we're going to see what's going on. There'll be a lot of buzz about him not being ready for this league. And, do they put him on waivers, and do they put him through, not waivers, but do you put him down to the Marlies, and is he ready? And then, okay, well, they're giving him a shot of the power play here. Let's see what he can do. Everyone's watching. This is his chance. And it's just a totally different beast in Toronto. I don't know if fans who follow this team, if they quite understand that, because if you only ever lived in Toronto or followed Toronto or been a fan of the Leafs, that's all you know. But it is drastically different in other markets, and it's a lot easier for a prospect, especially a high-end one, which Easton Cowan is, to find their footing as a professional. And that's my one thing that I know they've already addressed, that they're going to be conscious of. You want to give the kid every opportunity to build confidence, to understand the pro game, to figure out his timing and his place, and how much he can succeed at that point in time. It's just a lot more difficult to do when you're under the microscope in Toronto.
I will say, as someone who went to school in London, I think that's the closest thing you'll have in junior hockey to like the Maple Leafs is the London Knights. They get 10,000 people at their home games. It's crazy. Like a Friday night, it used to be called the John Labatt Center. That place would be rocking, and they're all just loving their London Knights, and they're kings there. They're literally kings. They're gods. They're gods in London. Yes, but I think that'll help them adapt and evolve. And I think for the Maple Leafs perspective, I wouldn't mind the route that they use with Fraser Minton. Mind you, Minton started the year with injury, but give him every opportunity, Cowan, to make the team. If he shows and demonstrates that he is worthy of getting a roster spot at a training camp, put him on the roster. But I wouldn't have any expectations. I just want to continue to see his development. And I think they can use the American Hockey League as sort of a ground to get his footing in Toronto. I think it's great that the Marlies are just down the road too. So I don't put the expectation, at least from my perspective, that he makes the team. I just want them to handle him right.
Yeah, that's a huge word that's going to be huge, and that's expectations, right? You don't want to put expectations on him. You want him to be aware that, like, there are no expectations, Easton. There are no one expects you to make the team. No one expects you to be a difference maker. Give them the opportunity to do so, but that's such a huge jump from CHL junior hockey, which he dominated, to the NHL. It's a massive jump, and the in-between piece is the American Hockey League. It is It is high-end professional hockey with all kinds of guys who have played in the NHL, who will play in the NHL, and it's professionally run teams, and it's the same schedule as the NHL in a lot of ways, and that's good for your development. Like you talk about having the confidence and being able to quote unquote dominate, and you want him to continue feeling that so he keeps his high pedigree in his mind mentally and with his confidence, and to give him the opportunity to make the team, awesome, but like let him feel like it doesn't matter if I don't. It's not you're not disappointing anyone. You're not letting anyone down if you don't make that team, if you don't blast off and have all this flourishing success. It's fine. Yeah, you're going to get some time, you're going to get some chances. Going down to the Marlies is completely normal and expected. He needs to feel that so that, give him the best possible position and foundation to have as much success early, but don't have the expectations on him, because that's where you start to, in that market, in that league, you can start to second guess yourself, grip your stick a little bit, try to do things that you're not normally used to, that you're not really supposed to. You want to avoid all that. And I think from everything they've said as an organization, I think they're quite cognizant of that, and they're going to handle him quite well, I believe.
Yeah, the story's just going to evolve, and we'll see what they do on July 1. But there's some gaping holes on this roster as we have this conversation. But I think you're still right. I think just creating a support system as well. And I think it benefited a guy like Fraser Minton last year, just the time he got in the AHL. And we saw by the end of things now with the Bruins organization, he had a pretty solid finish to the season. And I wouldn't be shocked if Fraser Minton is a full-time NHLer. And I just think there's a lot of room to grow in any player, even a guy like Easton Cowan. All this guy's done and is won at the junior level. So we'll see what's in store for him. You ready to discuss some insider conversation, the musings from around the league over the weekend? You ready for this?
Let's hear some of the musings.
I know you love this aspect because you don't believe in sources.
That's not true. I just say when we're a million miles away from a deal being done and everyone's like, oh, it's that. It's like, he didn't tell anyone that. Like, no, I don't know about that. I take it with a grain of salt is all I'm saying. I don't not believe insiders. I'm just saying you could run the tape back to a different example of what happened and then go to all the rumors a month beforehand and be like, how many of those turned out to be not the case? So I take them with a grain of salt is all.
The latest scuttlebutt, Dave Pagnotta says Mitch Marner has not closed the door on a return to Toronto, which we sort of already knew and had been discussing. Maybe it's a leverage tactic by the Marner camp. But again, as mentioned off the top, 29 days away from July 1. Pagnotta went on to say that Marner has a list of 7 or 8 teams that he's looking at, including Vegas and Los Angeles. I know we touched on it briefly, and it was Pagnotta who dropped it first on the show last week about these combos that supposedly happened last summer where Toronto and Vegas were talking about a Mitch Marner trade. How about that?
Yeah, break that down again. What were the details in that?
So as far as I know, and again, don't quote me on it, which people probably will, I think Shea Theodore was a topic of conversation from the Maple Leafs perspective, and I don't think Vegas was interested in that. I'm sure Petrangelo's name was thrown out there. William Karlsson would have made a lot of sense. I wonder if Karlsson would have come to Toronto. But I think there was a lot more moving parts than is out there right now. But I think the full brunt of it was maybe Shea Theodore coming back to Toronto.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen, but there is opportunity for it to turn out for Mitch Marner to light a match and drop it behind him as he exits Toronto. With a bunch of those, I guess, rumors or details that come out. You go to the Rantanen deal and this new information about Vegas and some of those players that could have, like, what difference makers those players we're talking about would be for the guy who you get 0 of them. You get 0 potentially. You get nothing. You get dust left in his place. They offered him the biggest contract in franchise history.
We talked about the other day. Dave doesn't think that happened. Just be blunt about it.
So
that's why
you're saying this insider information sometimes is not true.
To your point.
I don't know. Again, we don't know. We're not privy to that information.
Yeah.
Those guys keep that information quite close to their vests, and they don't go announcing it or whisper to some random Joe, and then Joe runs to the insider and it's out. There's just little rumblings, and then maybe this rumor came from here, and then so and so says, "Yeah, I heard that too." Okay, well, let's roll with it. Well, what percentage of truth is it? You don't really know. And I don't claim to know how all those insiders get their information. I know we're pretty, we hear a lot of stuff, but we don't go forward with a lot of it because, it's risky. You want it to be true. You want it to be real, and you can get very valid information as well. And it doesn't turn out to come to fruition. That doesn't mean it's wrong also, right? And there's things that are potential. There's whispers and there's people leaning towards things and they change their mind. That stuff happens too. But when the dust settles with Marner, he's going to hit the free market and he's going to get a semblance of who's interested. And like when the rubber hits the road and the offers are made on paper, he's going to know where he stands. And maybe he doesn't know where he's going to go or what he wants to do until he gets to see all the offers. Right. But I mean, what percentage chance do you think that it is the Maple Leafs who end up signing him again?
By 10%.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Again, then you're not necessarily running it back per se, but you are, right? At the end of the day,
you're running it back.
You're running it back. And with the 4-man, it's not a 4-man deal anymore, but if you want to call Matthew Nyes, what he will end up making will be, I guess, in a way, sort of close to John. I don't know what you call it anymore, but just the amount of money and a small amount of people with Mitch Marner on the roster, with what we've already seen they're capable of, there's just no way, man. There's just no way. But I think now the deal is, can you get anything for him? Obviously, you had chances to get some massive return, which if you're losing a player of that production level, of that caliber, you would think you would get something back. I mean, the last thing on the world you want is to be left high and dry. And let's be honest, Mitch hasn't made it easy for them to get a return for him.
Yeah, it's true. And I know that's been out there the last couple of weeks too, that the Marner camp, at least right now, is not interested in even discussing a sign and trade. I think it's all lever. Like, let's not be naive. I mean, agents and teams use the media. They know how to use the media, and it's happened time and time before. It'll continue to happen. And sometimes the information is positive and real and true, and sometimes it's false information, and it's something to stir a conversation up, which we've seen time and time again. But
do you think there's anything to like trading his UFA rights, which would be...
I think it would be a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
I don't believe that the Marner camp wouldn't be interested. Why wouldn't you? It means more money. If you get the 8th year, it means an extra $14 million. So,
and at his age, he's 29 now. That puts you up to that puts you up to where that puts you up to your second last contract. If all things go well and you're healthy and everything, that extra year at 13 or something like that. I mean, you're going to go down after that. You're going to go down, and it's not even going to be a double digit unless he's really flourishing. But an extra year at that massive money is a bunch of money. And I know it's hard to wrap their head around that kind of money for anybody. But if you are anybody and you're talking like, just, I don't know, take it down minus 10 or, a factor of 10 less, it's normal people kind of money and good money. And then if you're like, well, you can get this amount more, anyone would be like, absolutely. It doesn't matter how much money you're talking about. If it's a bunch more for you personally, it's going to pique your interest. And I'm sure, you would think Mitch would be interested in that 8th year.
Who am I to say? But somebody who chased every penny the last contract, you're telling me they're going to leave $14 million on the table because they don't want to discuss and negotiate a sign and trade with their now former team. I don't buy that. But I did see on one of the betting platforms, you can bet on where Marner's going to go, and the favorite was Vegas at plus 275 around that. And I did partake in the endeavor. I just think the more and more I look at it now, this conversation about Vegas coming up from last summer, again, be careful what you hear. There's conversation. Oh, Mitch wouldn't have gone to Vegas. I don't know about that. And you got to talk about the tax situation too. Who's always the horniest team when they lose? It's the Vegas Golden Knights, dude. I'm just more curious to see who they're gonna toss overboard. I know Pagnotta was saying over the weekend, Nick Hague, his name is out there on the trade market right now.
Yeah, it's a fun time of year, man. The rumors are gonna start flying, and free agency. You saw how fast May went by. Well, June's probably gonna be no different, and the cup will get handed out, and then it'll be a week away, and the rumor mill will seriously ignite. You wonder about Carolina. They're kind of huge, in need of one of those high-end guys. They obviously already wanted him with the Rantanen situation. I wonder if they were soured on him blocking that trade or not. I can't imagine that would be too much of a factor, but a possibility there too. I don't know if Mitch blocked that just because he just wanted one last crack with the Leafs and wanted to stay here, and that's his right. And whether you think Dubas should have handed out all those no move clauses or not, well, he had it and he got it and he was able to exercise it. And as much as it sucked for the Leafs, especially knowing what we know now, it's you can't. It was well within his right to do so. So you wonder if that relationship could still be there with Carolina, but everyone's kind of seeing what they've done in the conference finals the last many years, and they're kind of in need of one of those high end players.
Game breakers. I tell you right now, Carolina's
a game breaker though.
In the regular season, he had 102 points this year, Jason. But I think Carolina is going to be involved. I really, really do. There's a reason why they've been linked to Marner for years. There's a reason why there was that conversation regarding Rantanen at the trade deadline. I think they're going to be right in the thick of things for Mitch Marner. And Pagnotta did go on to say San Jose, Columbus, and Anaheim are also preparing big offers. This guy's the big fish, man. Like, he is by far the best player. Yeah.
Gonna go win in Columbus, or what was it? Columbus, Anaheim, and San Jose. Oh, gorgeous. I don't know, man. Like, how much does Mitch want to win? Is he just chasing the dollar? We know he likes chasing the dollars, which is fine. I think
you can turn into a contender really, really quick in this league. Like San Jose, I won't lie, would intrigue me because of Macklin Celebrini, and we saw Dickinson play last night. I think he could be on the Sharks come training camp, come game one of the season, the defenseman. I think they're turning things around really, really quickly. And even look at what Columbus did this year. So I get what you're saying, and Anaheim's got Q in the mix now.
Yeah, I mean, I love Q. I think he could turn that around. It just, with those teams that are nowhere close. Yes, I'm not saying you can't all of a sudden become a contender.
Yeah.
That does happen. But my thing is, if you go there, you don't know. Like, yeah, Celebrini, you got some up and comers, but we've seen with the Leafs for a long time and other teams that are trying to contend, you don't really know what you have until you get put in that, right? Until you get put in the second round, the third round, when holy smokes, we have some gamers that we didn't even know. Like, no one knew Sam Bennett was what he was when he was in Calgary. No, even when they got him in Florida, you didn't realize that he was going to have this much of an impact on the runs they've gone on. You don't know that till you're there. So you could build a team in San Jose, and all of a sudden they're, all throughout the year, it's like, oh yeah, they are a playoff team. They're going to be in it this year and all great. But until you get in there and you see that with the Maple Leafs, we follow them so closely. It's like, we really think we've got something. And then inevitably it's time to do the thing. And it's like, they're just looking at each other and they don't have that
the squirrely eye.
So I think that's why, to go to a team that's more established, like a Vegas is, or Carolina, you kind of know what you have, and it's kind of more obvious what the pieces are that you need to have in place.
And I won't lie, like, my curiosity is high. Like, if Marner goes somewhere else that's not the Mecca of Toronto, does it just click? Like, the pressure's off. Like, maybe that's what he wants, is a team like there's no pressure, But
then, you go to Carolina, and if they can continue keeping their core together and get to a conference finals again, and you're up against a Florida, is he going to be a difference? Like, then the pressure's very much on. It's like, okay, Mitch, we have all the pieces that we've already had. Like, you need to be kind of the difference maker, and now it's on his shoulders as the one that he doesn't have Matthews beside him and Nylander beside him. Now you got to be the guy to do it. I have my doubts about him being able to shoulder that load too, but time's going to tell, and he's going to make the decision that's best for him.
I think Vegas makes a lot of sense. Imagine a line with Eichel and Marner on it, man. That would be pretty nasty, but good luck in your future endeavors. I think we're just ready to move on here. This raised some eyebrows too. I guess Elliot Friedman on one of the platforms, it might have been 32 Thoughts, talked about, and we've discussed this a bit, but that the Maple Leafs are supposedly considering buyouts for some of the players toward the bottom of their lineup. Didn't state names, but probably thinking Reeves, Kampf, Yarncroke, maybe Domi. I just don't see it. And I know I was reading an article, I think David Alter put it out, did a good job over with the Hockey News, is that because a lot of there's bonuses involved, like the cap hits would just be too significant to stomach and handle. But I guess you have to consider trading these guys first, and we'll see if something comes to fruition first there.
Yeah, but you're not trading Reeves, and you're not trading Kampf. That's
the way I read it. The way I read this whole story is Ryan Reeves. Like, that's the guy I circle back to, and maybe David Kampf.
Is that? I don't know. Like, I respect the hell out of Revo. I just think it's 2025, dude. It was like 2015. That's 10 years ago that people kind of considered, his play non-effective and irrelevant in this league. And it's 2025 now. It's like, I just don't think anyone's going to be, and he's got a pretty healthy little contract for that type of dude. I could see that. I just don't even think it would make a lot of noise if it did. It's like Kampf, to me, that's I am a tree living fan, a tree living supporter. I love where his head's at. I like when he speaks, when he makes moves, it makes complete sense to me. But that Kampf contract, that's the one to me where I'm just like, how did you not get David Kampf done for less? Like, how did you have to commit that term and that money to that player? Like, for what? Like, what were his comparables, and how did you think he was going to be a guy that you just absolutely have to have, kind of almost no matter what the cost? And she's not a needle mover or really a difference. It's not like it's a Connor Brown where it's like, shit, man, like he's done so much for us. He would be a gaping hole. We would desperately be looking to fill that hole if we lost him. It's just not that case. So that contract is the one where I'm like, geez, Tree, what the hell was that? I think that could be a candidate for a buyout. That would have to be Tree kind of falling on the sword saying this was my mistake in a lot of ways. And then there's Domi. Domi, to me, I like Domi, man.
Me too.
I just wish there was that extra gear. It seems like to me, there's that line where once you cross it, you are this explosive type of player that when you're watching, you're like, there he is again, doing the stuff, whether it's this huge hit or this massive back check or blocking the huge shot or setting up the goal or scoring the goal or the forecheck with the turnover to spin out in front and bang, so-and-so, Johnny T walks on it. Like, man, Domi, like you are over that line. You are a constant producer. Like you are everything that we want. We are so happy you're here and we value you. Domi can get 1 foot over that line, but he can never get the other foot over and just be like, I'm on the other side of this. I am the guy. He shows the flashes of it, but then sometimes he's got both feet on the other side where it's like, you're not doing us a whole lot. And he's been on so many different teams, and I think he's a great guy, a great teammate. I think guys love him. He's got that bit of his dad in him where he kind of knows like what to do, but it's just not quite there. And I think as much as I like him, I think there's a lot of people that are like, no on Domi. And I don't know if, I think he could actually maybe be a trade piece, but I don't think the other guys have a whole lot of value to people when you pick up the phone.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. In support of Sick Kids, David Owens, thank you so much for the super chat. Do you see Nyes, Matthews, Cowan being tried at all? I don't. How about you, Rosie?
I like Cowan down the lineup a little bit. That's your number one line, right? I think, middle six, right? Again, I don't want to put expectations on this kid. I don't know what he's going to be. I don't know where he's going to be and how he's going to look. Again, that is such a massive jump. I'm certainly not saying he's slotted in the first line. I think that in a young career like that, when he's getting looks, again, he's going to get opportunity. And we'll see what he does with that opportunity and what he ends up becoming. But I hate putting him into a box and sliding him into a slot right now because we're just not sure what that's going to be. And if you put him on a pedestal, it's just not fair to a kid that young coming out of that league, making that massive of a jump. It's not fair to say you're supposed to be here and then you give him that. And then if it's not perfect, then the player feels like he's going backwards and he's disappointing and he's not up to expectations. That's the last thing you want. So again, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, no expectations is what I'm looking for.
I like it. Shane Brom, thank you so much for the super chat. Up for discussion, Seguin for Robertson and a third. I guess we're in trade season and there's going to be some funky requests out there. I don't know if I'm ready for, what is it, 9.85 million per season of Tyler Seguin for 2 more.
How old is he now? 34?
It's got to be around 33, 34. Yeah. He's got 2 years left in his deal. Had a good year. He got banged up, came back, but I just don't know if I'm ready for that.
It's just like in a perfect world, right? You get a player and he's like, you just need guys to, at least perform the value of their contract. And Sagan's very much a guy who could come here, be injured, not really produce, trying to find his place in the lineup. Who's he supposed to play with all the while is 9.25 or whatever is just, you know, mucking up that cap room. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many times you've brought in a guy like that with some contract and some term and some AAV, and they're just not worth it, and everyone's pissed off, right?
Yeah.
It's tough to know, man. It's such a tough job, especially being in Toronto, because so many players have been really good elsewhere, and they come here and they're not good, or they start here and they're not good enough, and they go
And they
elsewhere
go.
and they flourish. Like
Yeah.
you look back to the Zach Hyman, like $5 million is really like unanimously too much for Hyman. $5
I
million
know.
nowadays, you're just like fucking $5 million is not a huge deal breaker for where the cap's at right now, and it's goddamn Leafs, man. The goddamn
Yeah,
Leafs.
very well said. Mason Marchman's probably the guy to look at from the Dallas perspective. It sounds, and talking to a few people, I know you hate that, but Marchman's name could be on the
Don't
trade
say I
market.
hate that. I don't hate that. I just say when it's these definitive wild things that are
Yeah.
such closed door information that they're like, I heard this from who? From Tree? I doubt it. I doubt it. You know what I mean? But I don't dislike insider information. I just take the big stuff that's super confidential with a grain of salt.
We got to get you in some more WhatsApp chats. People talk, man. People text. People discuss stuff.
I know that. I'm just saying what they're talking about. How valid
Email.
is the information they're talking about?
Well, that is the fair point. I think a lot of stuff that gets out there is purposely put out there. So
There's also a little bit of that going on too.
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, exactly. I think that started, and I think we'll see a lot of that shit continue over the next couple of weeks. When it comes, we're going to get that Marner story. We're going to get the Tavares story. Like, there's just going to be levels of this as we get closer to July 1. So we're just bracing. Last super chat to get here too. Tony Van Dinter. Any chance salary cap goes to net dollars instead of pre-tax in the new CBA? I'm sure this is something they'll discuss a lot because of LTIR and how these teams like Florida, I know Biz took some heat on social the other day, but teams like Florida have a big thing on their side is the tax situation.
How can anyone argue that?
I know.
Like
yeah.
like net. It's when you're talking about big money, it's all about your tax. I mean, wealthy people, they don't take in a lot of income. They borrow and lend against something and use the bank's money. And because as soon as you take it, if you have an investment, if you have a capital gains or whatever it is, if you take money into your account personally, you get whacked, and everyone's trying to avoid that. That's everything when you're talking about big money. And when it's as simple as a contract in a state, if you have $10 million and you're going to make 7 of that, or you're going to make 5.1, that's a big frigging difference. It's a huge difference. It doesn't matter if you're talking about $100,000 or $10 million. It's substantial. And these players are not stupid, and their agents aren't stupid, and their accountants aren't stupid. It is a huge advantage to that. I don't even know how. I think it was Anson Carter that like rebutted that. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? It's the cost of living and the tax in this country that we live in is astronomical compared to being in Texas or Florida. It's just the reality of it. And that's a huge factor in a player deciding where to go. And it's a disadvantage to any Canadian team without question. It's a disadvantage to California teams and to New York in a similar fashion, but even to a lesser degree, as high as their taxes are. It's crazy in Canada, and it is a factor. And I think that it's gotten to the point where it does need to be addressed. What that looks like, net money, I don't know, man. It's really tough.
The chat, by the way, is accusing us of trolling Marner. They've included producer Vic in the conversation. They say all we do is just troll the Marner camp, Rosie. So
we troll them. Marner's camp trolls everyone else, man. There's so many people that have gone back and forth of who I just thought are fans on Twitter and stuff like that. And now, like, when you go into their account and look, it's like you're a Marner, you're a Marner hired gun. Like, nobody could be. There's no the biggest fan in the world of Mitch Marner would not have these many outrageously one-sided takes to a certain player. Like, they would go against the grain on any take on the face of the planet that was in any way against Mitch Marner. They would go against it in a second. And it's like, this guy's not a genuine person. It's a guy for a camp going through everyone on Twitter and putting out as much positive information as possible. It's crazy. And I've come to the conclusion on a few of those. It's like, there's just no way this isn't what that is. And us trolling the Marner camp, it's our job to talk about the Maple Leafs. He is the highest paid player potentially on the Maple Leafs and he's the only UFA that really matters to this level. Like, what the hell are we going to do? Not talk about Mitch Marner and the perspective of his contract? Get serious.
It's just because our opinions are the same on the matter and the player. That's about it.
Well, if you see a runway of results and you're going to talk about them, oftentimes two people are going to have the same opinion of what they've seen over the last 9 years, and we're not alone in that. And is what it is, boys. Sorry if we have the same opinion on something.
Yeah,
we're not going to go against each other for the sake of arguing.
Yeah, we're at a point where we have to hire some security, Rosie.
Some rocket security.
Potential. It's time now for the crispy hot take of the day, presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It is an all-in-one system that includes 4-quart, 6-cup Tempur glass containers and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant, go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. Cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. Max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website and the link in the show description. And following up on our playoff promotion, Rosie, over the next few weeks, we'll be giving away a free Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer. To be eligible to win, all you got to do is head on over to our Instagram page at TLNDC. That's at TLNDC on Instagram to find out our contest sign up. After that, follow at Ninja Crispy Canada, and reply with what kind of dish you'd like to cook in your Ninja Crispy contest, available to Canadian residents only. And we'll end on June 6th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. What would you cook in your Ninja Crispy, Rosie?
I got chicken thighs on my mind tonight. I could use one of those damn crispy ninjas. My fryer sucks. I hardly ever use it. It's over in the laundry room, and I don't even bust it out too often. But that one looks slick. They're coming up with some pretty good stuff. So makes me hungry every time we watch that thing in the morning.
Ready for Producer Vic's hot take, my man?
Probably not, but let's do it.
Producer Vic, it's sacrilegious to cheer for another Canadian team. That's assuming that your team is out and ours is out in the Maple Leafs. And I could not agree more with Producer Vic. I'm going for Florida in this Cup final.
Yeah, that's definitely a button issue this the last couple of years.
Canada's team.
I know. It's tough. Like in Alberta right now, like where I'm at, there's a clear divide. Flames fans, Oiler fans. I live in central Alberta, so I see a lot of variation of that, right? And I got, it depends how hardcore of a fan you are. If you live closer to the Saddle Dome, so you go to the Flames games, but you don't bleed red. You want them to win, but if they're out, you're like, oh well. If you have nothing against the Oilers, that rivalry doesn't like piss you off, then I could see people being like, oh, like, if I want a Florida team winner or an Alberta team to win, I'll cheer for the Oilers. I think that'd be great for, Canada. And it's different. I get that a Yankees fan, like if they're out, there's just no way in living hell you are cheering for the Bo Sox. Like I get that. I think it's different if it's your rival, like if it's Toronto and if it's Montreal going to the final, like you don't want those pricks to win at all, whether it's, only Canadian team or not. I just see the difference in Canada where there is that allegiance and not smaller market, but a smaller population of country. And we haven't won since 93. I get how you could get on board with it. I'm not going to say it's sacrilege, but you're not as hardcore of a fan if you can just quickly jump off to the next greatest team. Call it bandwagon, call it whatever you want. I was cheering for Edmonton last year. This year, I haven't decided who I'm cheering for. I'm just going to watch and see what comes up. I'd love to see McDavid win his cup. I think that would also maybe intrigue people to think, okay, maybe his job's done in Edmonton. It honestly, it makes me laugh how much that pisses Oiler fans off. Like they get offended, like pissed off at you bringing it's like settle down, buddy. But sacrilege, no. Frowned upon from the hardcore fans, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm a Leafs fan. I can't cheer for anybody else. Like, it's not like I'm at Greta Bar jumping up and down when the Oilers score a goal. Yeah, I agree with you. It would be cool to see McDavid and Draisaitl hoist Lord Stanley Hyman too. But I'm not at a level where I'm like, yeah, Connor Brown scores to make it 4-1. I could not care. In fact, I care more about the draft coming up in Los Angeles, free agency July 1, and what this Maple Leafs team looks like in even a month from now on July 2nd. So, we'll leave the conversation at that, Rosie. I guess we got the Bet365 segment still to come. Want to get in the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365? They got you from game props, player props, totals on the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, and Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. Why don't we look at the Conn Smythe market? The front runner right now is Connor McDavid. I think the Oilers are winning, so I think the money is on McDavid. I think he's the only Oiler who can win this. I know Draisaitl is in the top 4, we'll say, in betting odds. And from the Florida perspective, I think it's way more wide open. I think Bobrovsky's the front runner right now, but there's a couple of other guys who can do it too.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, all things being the same, if the Oilers were to lose again, I think McDavid would get it again, would he not?
If the Oilers lose?
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier on my other show. I'd be shocked if the voters gave it to McDavid again if he lost. I think Bobrovsky has been good enough, but I think 2 years in a row and you don't win, like, I don't think it's been as dominant a performance, if that makes sense, for McDavid. Like, last year was out of this world, man.
Yeah, that's true. And there's potentially 7 games of hockey. I mean, that could change absolutely everything. Yeah. I mean, Stuart Skinner, for all I know, could, just be a mutant and have 3 shutouts in the finals. And then it's like, well, you're giving it to that guy. Look what he's done in the last 2 series. Yeah. That could happen. Bobber could absolutely shut the door. Mm-hmm. I just think that, as far as superstar status, it's McDavid is the obvious one, because Florida doesn't like and that's a tip of the cap to Florida. They don't have one guy that can do it, which there's not very many guys in the league that can do that besides Connor McDavid, maybe Leon. But with Florida, it's not like, I don't know, Barkov is just going to pop off so bloody crazily that he's just leaps and he's just the MVP of the whole thing. They're so well rounded. They're probably going to get a little mix from everybody, right? If they win, it's kind of hard. I think Bobber's the only guy that is probably going to win it on Florida. And I think Leon, McDavid, and Skinner maybe on Edmonton. But other than that, the good teams that are in that position usually have a well-rounded cast of guys that kind of share the workload,
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I forgot, we don't need Rocket security. My guy Craig is a bouncer in Toronto. He said he's got us covered if we need security in this market. So we're good to go, Rosie. It's going to do it for today's episode. I should mention as well, no awards show this year. So Alex Barkov has won the Selke Trophy on this Monday. Mitch Marner, 7th in voting. Austin Matthews, 14th in Selke voting.
It's kind of a ways down for, Marner 5th, 7th?
7th.
I better look at that list. That's kind of anticlimactic to just do it like that. I know it's
just
weird.
The news drop on a Monday morning.
What the hell is that? It's weird how they do stuff, man. But
yeah, but I've been to these award shows. I was at the one in Vegas last year. It's like, oh my God, get me out of here. I want to go get drunk. So
I can imagine any awards show in the world is the most painfully long and egregiously grindy experience you could go to with the speeches and the bullshit awards that no one cares about. But they're not doing her this year. So hey, there you go. Go to the internet, check out the list, and see who won the trophies.
Got a lot of stamina to this show. We were talking before we started. We're like, what are we going to talk about today? It's been an hour and 5 minutes.
I know. I was like, is it 45 minutes in? And it's past the hour. But we like that too. Sometimes you just got to spitball some shit and talk about what comes to mind, especially in the lowly Maple Leafs world right now, where there's still a fairly ugly taste in most people's mouths.
Well said, Rosie. We'll leave it at that, and we'll reconvene tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, okay?
Cool, bro. I'll be there. Maybe we can break down some more trophies that apparently no one cares about anymore. Man, that's really blows my mind. They just chucked that out on Monday. Here's who won some shit. Go look it up for yourself.
Yeah, just like a quick news drop.
Weird. I love it.
Michael writes in, Nick should be more serious about the content. Oh. I'm just getting grilled in the chat today.
These random shots. You should be more serious about the content.
Hey, man, I wish I was more serious about this channel. I just
feel like you're pretty serious when we see your breakdowns and your rundowns of the shows.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go to bat for you, Nick. I think you're pretty serious about it.
Thank you, Jason. We'll leave it at that. We're back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure while you do so, leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. Talk tomorrow.
Don't call me Jason.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.